Yes, excuse me, I'm trying to drive here. Do you mind? You win this round. No, not you, don't get in my way too. Jerk! Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today, we're taking a look at the Civivi Conspirator. Pretty popular model from Civivi this year, and it's my turn to give my take on it. So, let's go ahead and jump right into this review. We are looking at 3.5 inches on blade, pretty much exactly. Awesome, that's my my favorite EDC size. Let's go ahead and do our comparisons. First up against the Rat 1 and the Rat 2. I'm getting so good at saying those in the right order. It helps a lot to, take out the 1 first and the 2 second. It helps my little caveman brain process things. Next, here is the Bug Out and the PM2. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring out our Civivis, because we should probably compare this against some Civivis. The Praxis and the Elementum. Kind of similar in size to Praxis. Let's see, just a second. Sorry about that, had a call come through, but yeah, kind of similar to the Praxis. A little bit smaller in the handle especially, but kind of similar in terms of sharpened edge. And let's go ahead and compare it against one of my favorite Civivis, that being the Baby Banter. Ooh, look at that gorgeous edge I have on that knife. And let's compare against another button lock, the CGRB button lock Feldspar. Alrighty, so, oops, I almost took the wrong knife off the table. I'd rather talk about the Baby Banter. I love that knife. Okay, so, I like this knife too. You'll see. Alright, so, Civivi Conspirator, what are we looking at in terms of material? We have a Blackwash Nitro V blade, in this case, micarta scales, steel clip, steel liners, and it is a button lock. You guys all probably knew that already, because this knife is very popular at the moment. It has been reviewed a lot. But let's go ahead and go see how it cuts and carries and handles. It's raining. It's starting to drizzle and get cold. So I'm going to film some knife cutting. I will say, actually, I do like filming outside when it's cloudy and dark. I don't know, I feel like it looks good on camera, and, I don't know, it just makes everything look so much better. Anyways, today we're talking about a Civivi. I was hoping, well, I wasn't going to do very many Civivis this year, and I haven't, but I did have to get my hands on this one because all the cool kids have them, and I just want to be one of the cool kids. So, this is the Civivi Conspirator, and I must admit, it is pretty cool. So, let's go ahead and just talk about it. Let it rain. You know what? I don't care. So, the handles are micarta, and it's decently good micarta. I've definitely felt better, but I've also felt a lot worse, especially from Civivi. This is kind of mid-tier micarta, but for Civivi, I think it's pretty good. The ergonomics are really nice. The knife is fairly chunky, but it doesn't feel chunky, if that makes sense. The jimping on the blade is really, really good. They have a nice length of it. You can get your thumb in there. It's very grippy. Very comfortable. The clip, which usually I hate on Civivis, actually feels good on this knife. Like, I can't really feel it because the handle is wide enough to kind of hide it in your palm, but feels really good. The ergonomics are very nice. On the action, it is a button lock. And that's the other thing all the cool kids like these days is button locks. And yeah, it's it's pretty good. You have this fuller that you can flick. And it's not the snappiest button lock flipper I've ever felt, but it does work. It has a nice ting. If you can hear that over the rain. Let's get through this quick. How's it carry? Reversible clip. Good job. The clip is Civivi's basic clip, and while I may not like it often in the hand, in the pocket, it works just fine. Really no complaints at all in that regard. Good job. Yeah, let's go ahead and get to the cutting. The blade is Nitro V with a flat grind. Remember when Civivi used to do like these really awesome hollow grinds? I haven't seen one of those in a while. But regardless, this is actually still a really good flat grind. Comes down to about 17 thousandths behind the edge, which is definitely not a number you can shake a stick at. So, go ahead and do some slicing. Yeah, what'd you expect? It just blazes through. Very, very nice. I always appreciate that about Civivis. They have excellent, excellent cutting geometry. Okay, let's do a rope pull. Let's see how it does on this. I actually don't know if it'll do too good. Well, we got halfway through. Let's finish that up. Okay. That was all right. Thin blades sometimes struggle with rope. Let's tilt this down here. Didn't do very good at that. Again, thin edges and that rope don't often mix too well. Let's grab the pull noodle. I bet it'll do great here. Let's see how that edge geometry is. Oh yeah, effortless. Effortless. See how thin we can go. Okay, not quite that thin, but yeah, we got that pretty darn thin. Felt good, didn't catch up. The coating might have drug a little bit, but not too bad. Yeah, performed pretty well. Really nice blade shape too, by the way. And yes, I have been testing Nitro V recently because, you know what, how about instead of you guys staring at my crotch, we go up here. My eyes are up here. And yeah, as you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan of Nitro V, so I've been really trying to test this knife pretty hard. And I mean, this is just the cutting footage, so if you guys know how the channel works, this is not testing. This is just kind of visual representations of the knife's capabilities for you guys to show during the review. I don't often film all my testing cutting, but yeah, I will say the Nitro V has been doing pretty well, and I am happy with it. I'm not going to say impressed, but happy. Anyways, I'm getting wet, so let's go inside.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about what I'm liking and not liking about the Civivi Conspirator. Number one, I think it's a good looking knife. I really do. I love that drop point blade. The fuller is nice and classy. I like the green on black look. That really spoke out to me more than the other version, so of course that's the one I have. So yeah, cool looking knife. I really do like the design. It's very, I don't know, it's very in line with my personal design aesthetic preferences. Not sure where that sentence was going, but my brain thought it was going somewhere, and there it is. It happened. Next thing, the ergonomics are pretty nice. This knife is very neutral. You can see the grip here. Not a whole lot going on, and that's good. That works out really nicely for the ergonomics. I do like they have like this little, not really milled out area, but kind of like it's sanded down a little bit. Your finger goes in there very well. And my micarta's rounded over nicely everywhere, so, you know, no hot spots. The clip, you know, I'm not a big fan of this clip, but on a knife like this, where there's plenty of room around either side of the clip on the handle, that really helps to hide it. The jimping, the texture is fine. I wouldn't say it's, like, amazing, but it's fine. And what they do fantastically is they carry it out far enough along the spine. So many companies just they just stop halfway before the jimping even gets to where it's supposed to be. So this I really appreciated, and the jimping is good. I mean, it's not my favorite jimping, but you have fine grip. If you want to choke up over here, which you can, you're still on that jimping. So yeah, awesome. Next thing, the button lock action is very nice. It's good and fidgety. If you're into the button lock, fidget craze, this will give you what you're looking for. The flipper is not as flippy as some button lock flippers I felt. It doesn't kick as much as something like the Kaiser Begleiter XL, which I don't have right now. But yeah, it works good, and part of the reason is because the jimping on the flipper tab is done very, very nicely. I appreciate that. Yeah, allows you to get a lot of good leverage, whether you're push buttoning it or light switching it. Yeah, it works great. So that's awesome. Next thing, the build quality is fantastic. Good centering. Do I have any blade play right now? Maybe a hair, but I can adjust that out. The hardware is all T8s. Everything works the way it's supposed to. It's fit together very well. Civivi has excellent build quality. And yeah, it really does show. I like that quite a bit. Next, I do like the blade. This is a very useful blade. Drop points are probably the most versatile blade shapes. I think they kind of are good for people across different scenarios. And yeah, I like seeing it here. It's a great size. Like I already said, the 3.5-inch blade is my favorite size for a blade. The Nitro V steel works okay. It's a flat grind, comes down to a pretty good thin edge that Civivi is known for. I have been harsh on Nitro V in the past. I really, really tried to use this knife hard and see if it changed my mind on Nitro V. And I do like Nitro V a little bit more than I used to. We'll talk about that later, but yeah, I don't really have any problems with the blade at all. I do wish it was a hollow grind. Civivi isn't doing very many of their... I mean, they used to do just gorgeous hollow grinds, and I haven't seen of course, I haven't handled that very many Civivis lately, but it's a very good flat grind. It's going to be a little bit tougher, and this is, a little bit of a larger knife, maybe a little more on the hard use side of Civivi's lineup. It's a good blade. I do like the swedge up here. I like the fuller. I like the jimping, as I already said. Good thin edge. Nitro V is an okay steel. Yeah. So not a ton of problems there. Next thing, the carry. Reversible pocket clip. And these pocket clips do work really good in and out of the pocket. Now, this is probably the knife that I've carried this year where this is probably the only knife I've carried this year where this pocket clip hasn't annoyed me. On a lot of Sin Cuts and Civivis, the pocket clip I just don't really like. It doesn't bother me on this knife, and I think that's because of the handle ergonomics and kind of the chunkiness of the handle. But yeah, the pocket clip works good. The carry's nice. The knife it's got a little bit of width to it, which makes it feel really good in the hand, but I don't really think that's an issue in the pocket. The micarta is nice and smooth, so it slides in and out really, really nicely. Of course, it's reversible. Button locks are very lefty friendly. In fact, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I think button locks might actually be better for lefties than righties. But yeah, really, really good carry, good ergos, good blade. It makes good sounds too. Listen to this. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? All that clacking and clicking and ting, ting, ting. If you're into the fidgety, button locky goodness stuff that a lot of people are right now, yeah, it sounds really, really good. And I mean, I kind of already mentioned this with the action, but the fidget factor on this knife is, through the roof. You can do all kinds of cool, shenanigans with it, and, do all your, man toy fantasy fidgety goodness. So yeah, cool. Another thing I want to point out with the ergonomics, actually, something that I always enjoy with like button locks or axis locks or back locks, knives that have the lock, located up here, is it allows you to have symmetry in this area. So unlike on, let's just take this Praxis, for example, you have to have a cutout to get to that liner lock, right? And, you know, it's not a big deal, especially on this Praxis, you don't really feel it that much. Maybe a better example would be the Rat. Yeah, there's quite a bit of a cutout there, and when you're holding it, you can kind of feel that. So I do like knives that have, you know, locks that are located, you know, either up here by the pivot or, you know, back here, because this area ends up being very smooth and symmetrical, and that does fit the hand very, very nicely. All right, so there's what I like. Just to kind of recap, I think it works very well as a knife. It's a good cutter. It's very comfortable. It carries well. It's a very, very solid knife. Okay, what am I not liking so much? First thing, the price, $80. Civivi has really been kicking up their prices. We've all, you know, this isn't like news. I'm not, you know, exposing them or anything. But something that I've noticed is that they really do kind of pay, you're paying a premium for their Nitro V. And while this knife gave me a better Nitro V experience than some of their others, I have a whole video about that I'm working on. I don't know if it'll come out before or after this one, but keep an eye out. 14 or Nitro V, it's good, but I don't know why I would ever want Nitro V over 14C from Civivi. And the reason I say that, I should grab my riffle. I don't have it with me right now, but Civivi's 14C is awesome. Like, it's awesome. 14C itself is an awesome steel, but Civivi's 14C is really, really good. And I think it's better than their Nitro V. Nitro V, like on this knife here, it performed very similarly to 14C, I would say. Maybe a little less on the corrosion resistance from my experience. Again, keep an eye out for that video. But when Civivi uses 14C, the price is usually a little bit better on their knives. Their 14C knives tend to be a little more appropriately priced. And look, Civivi, if you could make all your knives in 14C and keep them around the $65 mark, I think a lot of people would be really, really happy. I really do. I mean, Nitro V is cool and all, but I just don't know why I would ever want it over 14C, especially from Civivi. But there it is. Oh, also, one thing I wanted to point out, this micarta is not great, but it is better than micarta that Civivi has used in the past. So good job, Civivi, stepping it up. We can go ahead and throw that into the negative. This micarta is kind of just meh micarta. It's meh carta. But, yeah. I don't really like button locks. Oh no! I know, blasphemy! Oh yeah, he doesn't like button locks. I have another video about this coming up too. I just don't like button locks. They're fun for fidgeting, like 100%. If I'm just sitting on the couch watching The Boys, yeah, you bet you, I am fidgeting with my Civivi Conspirator. 100%. But in actual use, I don't really like button locks. If you guys saw my review of the Kaiser Begleiter XL, you know that knife had a ton of issues for me, and it kind of made me a little bit wary of button locks. This knife, lockup was beautiful. I didn't have any, you know, failures with it, so I really appreciate that. But you know, I still wasn't using it quite as hard as I might have, and this isn't really a hard use knife, but you know, I did take this to work a few times, and you know, I was cutting rope, I cut some tarp with it, cut my lunch with it a few times, and you know, it worked fine for all those things. But you know, there were some other things I probably could have done with it that I just chose not to because I'm a little bit wary of the button lock strength. I know that's a weird thing to say, and especially for EDC, you know, it's not an issue. What is kind of a little bit more of an issue for me is that button locks just don't really work for me. So I've said that button locks I think are much better if you're left-handed, and I agree. You're using your knife, and when you're done, you know, you kind of move your hands to where they need to be to put the knife away anyways. And when you're disengaging it with your index finger, you know, you go from here and then your index finger just kind of slides up. I'm doing this in slow motion for demonstration purposes. Your finger just kind of slides up to there, you close the knife, and it goes in your pocket. For me, as a right-handed person, I just felt that it was awkward if I'm using the knife, using it, and then I go to close it. I felt like I had so much more rearranging to do with my fingers. I don't know what it is, but you know, it does feel different from like an axis lock. Using your axis lock knife, you know, you're using it, and axis lock knives to me, they still require a little bit more rearranging in my hand position than I like. But maybe it's just because I'm more used to an axis lock knife. But you know, I just feel like, you know, you grab it here and here, and then you're done. And I don't know, from here you go up, and then I don't know, like, I don't know, it's such a weird thing to explain. And I mean, technically, I guess there's more maneuvering when you're using a liner lock. Maybe I'm just more used to it, but I don't know. I didn't like that aspect of a button lock. And the other thing I don't like about button locks is if something does go wrong with that button, you're screwed. So like I said, I took this to work a few times and it got dirty. You know, because I work in the woods. Things get dirty. And the worst place you can have your knife when you're working in a dirty environment is in your pocket. And, you know, if you're using your knife outdoors, it's actually pretty safe. When you have it in your pocket, you know, number one, you're like sweating all over it, but if you're in a dirty, dusty environment, stuff gets down in your pockets and it gets in your knife, and there's nowhere for your knife to go. It can't run, it can't hide, it's screwed. And something that kept happening to me with this one is, you know, to get to work, the button would get gummed up. There'd get stuff down in there and over there. And so it'd get to where, like, I couldn't flip it open, or I'd flip it open, but then the button would be stuck down, and so it wouldn't lock up. So, you know, take it home, clean it out, and eventually I just stopped taking it to work. Also, if I didn't already say, pardon the hands that are dirty from aforementioned work. Of course, regular EDC, it works fine. Like, it's not going to be an issue for you. But for me, like, trying to carry this as, like, my lunchbox knife, like I say, you know, my more slicey knife at work, it just wasn't working very good for me. This was the knife that I carried to work the most as my lunchbox knife, and it worked amazingly. This one, it just didn't work that great. I'm just not the biggest fan of button locks, and I kind of wish that this knife was a liner lock. Of course, if it was, it would look like a bunch of other knives. Which brings me to my next issue with this knife. This knife looks like so many knives in Civivi/Weeze lineup. And this is one of my biggest problems with Civivi, is so much of their stuff looks exactly the same. And it's so boring and unimaginative. And I probably sound like, I don't know, I probably sound like I'm ranting and being a baby for the negative part of this review, and maybe I am, but I swear there's no conspiracy between me and Civivi. I really have gone kind of tired of Civivis lately. But yeah. I do have a video coming out, actually, where I praise Civivi quite a bit, though, so stay tuned for that. You know what? Let's go ahead and go to my final conclusions, because, again, I feel like I'm getting kind of whiny, I guess, and I don't like to be whiny. Being whiny is no bueno. Okay, so what do I think about this knife? Can I recommend it? Yes, absolutely. This is a good knife. It functions great. It's well made. Civivi, definitely out of all the budget brands out there, I think Civivi is the brand that I would give the highest praise to in terms of build quality. I think they do a phenomenal job, and I love seeing that. However, what I don't love about this knife is I love the looks of this knife, and I'm going to be keeping this knife. Like, I do like this knife. I want to say that right now. I do like this knife quite a bit. My complaints, though, are just I'm not a real big fan of button locks. This is probably the one. I mean, this is an okay button lock flipper. I'm not a big fan of the fuller deployment. My favorite configuration for button locks is thumb studs and button locks. But I'm just not the biggest button lock guy. And here's what's so frustrating me about Civivi. Something I really like about the Sin-Cut line is I feel like a lot of their designs look very unique, very different, and they kind of get me excited when I see them. When it comes to Civivi and I mean, this knife looks like so many of their other stuff. And the thing is, you know, I remember I thought it was funny a couple months back. We posted this thing. They're like, don't forget to pick up the brand new Subjugator, and they had a picture of the Civivi Altus. It's like, well, I don't blame them for getting mixed up because a lot of their designs look very similar. But you know, I see things like the Beacon or the Speedster, and especially the Beacon. I love the looks of the Beacon. I think the Speedster looks good. But the thing is I know they're going to be good knives. I know they're going to be good knives, but they don't really excite me because they just look exactly like this knife. And I'm getting really whiny and ranty, but okay, let's go on to something else. I think Civivis are getting too expensive. I'm glad Sin-Cut is there to kind of pick up the slack, but man, I miss the days of the $42 Civivi Praxis. I mean, they still sell this model. I'll be honest with you guys. Between these two, which would I recommend? Definitely this one. For 42 bucks, this is a great knife. 9CR steel is amazing. I love 9CR steel. I love this knife. For $42, this is really, really good. I don't think you need to spend 80 bucks on the Conspirator. But, you know, that's just me. Do I recommend this knife? Yes, I recommend this knife. It's very good. I do enjoy this knife a lot. I'm probably going to continue carrying this knife. I love the looks. I love the ergos. I like the blade. I wish it was a little bit cheaper. I wish that, you know, I want to see innovation from Civivi and but I don't know. Reviewing Civivis is so weird to me because, like, especially this one, because this is a really good knife. This is a really, really good knife. But I don't know. This is kind of the first Civivi in a while that's really caught my eye and made me, you know, kind of want to buy it. And I did buy this knife, actually. And this is my knife. I'm going to be keeping it. But, yeah. So, I don't know. Anyways. Kind of a weird review, right? But, yes. Go ahead. Buy one. It's good. Anyways, I've been Gideon. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.